Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. This is Vrinda from Baltimore. I welcome you all to the daily call of His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj. Maharaj, we have 16 participants right now.
Okay, I'll begin with the invocation.
Okay.
In the meantime, you can let's see. I want to put a particular verse on the board. I want to read a continuation of series of verses, starting and then ending with a particular verse. Can we do that easily?
Yes, I can try. Yes.
I'll just give you a verse and then I'll start reading from there. Next verse, and then we'll stop at one verse and do the purport. Okay. So this is from the first canto, 17th chapter.
Okay.
Verse number 3. Verse number 14, and then we're going to continue reading all the way up to verse number 20, probably 20, let's see, 23 or 24. No, not 24, up to 23. We'll start with verse 14.
Okay.
Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Sri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesna Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deve Satane. Panchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhupe Vajapatitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasani Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I won't be reading the Sanskrit until we get to the actual verse. I'll just be reading translations. If you can somehow stream or connect the translations together in an easy way, we can move through the translations. And first, I'll set the stage by describing what is happening here. Is Maharaj Pariksit is the king of the world, and he is the undisputed king of the world. He has taken over the rule after the disappearance of Lord Sri Krishna. And he is noticing as he travels something that is very unusual in his kingdom. He sees a cow and a bull, and they're being tortured by this one low-class man by beating the legs of the bull, and the cow is crying because of that. So now he's being the protector of the progeny. That is his duty, and that is his main duty. He speaks to this person. He says, whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. Okay, next verse. 15. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. Continue. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray away from ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. So now the king is giving he's telling his duty and how it's his duty to protect law-abiding citizens and to punish those who deviate. Next. Now, the personality of religion in the form of a bull said, the bull is actually religion, and the cow, the bull is dharma, and the cow is Mother Earth. Cow is Mother Earth, and the bull is dharma. So the bull, the personality of religion, said, these words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty. Captivated by devotional qualities of the Pandavas, even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger. I'm going to need you this afternoon again. You have time? Okay. Next verse, 18. O greatest among human beings. It is very difficult, now the bull is speaking philosophy, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our suffering, because we are bewildered by the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Continue. Some of the philosophers who deny all sorts of duality declare that one's own self is responsible for personal happiness and distress. Others say that superhuman powers are responsible. While others say that activity is responsible. And the gross materialists maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. So here we have, stop here. So here we have a situation where we're talking about today's situation. Some people are saying that, well, because people are suffering from this epidemic, it's due to one's own, sinful reactions. Others saying it's being ordained by higher powers. Others are saying, you're covering part of the translation, I can't see it. Others say that activity is responsible. And in the gross material nature, people are saying, well, material nature is bringing about this pandemic. So you'll see, as much this verse applies to different people and different opinions, and you'll see it's going on today. Okay, the cause of suffering. Next verse. Verse number 20. There are some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor by its imagination, nor express it in words. Now, the bull is giving these different reasons why, and different sources who say, well, suffering is caused by this, by that. Some say you can't figure it out. Some say you can't know it. Some say even you can't know by imagination, nor can you express it in words. And then the bull said, O sage amongst kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. Next verse. These purports are powerful, but I'm going to get to one purport. So. Okay, Sutta Goswami, he's narrating this. He says, O best among the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. King said, and this is a key verse here. The king said, O you, who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Purport. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or a mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In the case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent, but in the case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him into great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such difficulty being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. This is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner like the mischief monger. Key verse here. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner like the mischief mongers. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all because the so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and the bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali, although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. Next verse. Thus, it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. Purport. A question may be raised as to why devotees should refrain from identifying an actor, although he knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer. To answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible, for everything is being done by his deputed Maya Shakti or material energy. Material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. The personality of religion knew perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, and still he was put into doubt by the deluding energy, and thus he refrained from mentioning the supreme cause. This doubtfulness was due to the contamination of both Kali and the material energy. The whole atmosphere of age of Kali is magnified by the deluding energy, and the proportion of measurement is inexplicable. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada used to say, don't be disturbed by the instrument of your karma. So suffering comes in different forms. We have suffering of the body, suffering of the mind, suffering caused by other living entities, suffering caused by higher powers. These are called kleshas, Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, and Adhidaivika. So this material world is characterized by suffering. And the more one tries to enjoy in this material world, the more one will bring suffering. So we understand that any attempt in this material world to further one's happiness in any way is also opening up the door for added misery. One is allotted their due quota in life. So much happiness and distress is given to one automatically. In the first canto, also in the 5th chapter, it says that just like misery comes in its own accord, no one asks for misery, but it comes. People are getting misery all the time, and no one has to make any endeavor to get it, but it's coming. And people are trying to avoid it, but still they can't avoid it. Even the greatest philosophers, thinkers, entrepreneurs, academicians, no one can avoid suffering. And they have so many ideas how to avoid suffering, but none of them will work because the principle is that material energy will bring suffering for those who try to enjoy. But enjoyment comes also automatically like suffering comes automatically. Tasyaipo hetu pratito nakovito nalabhyate tad brahmata uparyada talabhyate tukanavam anya sukyam kalena sarvatra gambira ramhasa. Interesting verse from the 5th chapter of the 1st canto, which describes that happiness will come just like suffering comes. So no need to try for happiness. So therefore, the devotee doesn't have to worry about material happiness because it'll come by the way of one's destined allotment. So therefore, one has to simply engage in devotional service. Unhappiness and distress will come, but they don't affect the devotee. Here, we're going back to the point, we're seeing that the Bill, who is actually the personification of religion, understands the finer aspects of religion by saying anyone who blames the person who causes one to suffer gets the equal amount of suffering as that person. Now that's a pretty strong, it's right mentioned here in the beginning of this purport. Yeah. So why does the arrow keep moving and the thing keep jumping around? Can you keep it in one place? Yeah. Okay. There's no need to do anything. Okay, so the question is raised, why should one refrain from identifying the actor? Because whatever comes by way of one's suffering and enjoyment comes automatically by one's destiny. So how do you change your suffering and enjoyment materially? By engaging in devotional service. And therefore material suffering is no longer, it's mitigated along with material happiness. Because when one engages in devotional service, one of the characteristics is that material happiness and material distress are also gradually diminished. And one is getting spiritual happiness. There is no such thing as spiritual distress. There is, but that is something else. That isn't a symptom of love and separation, but that's a whole different topic. But spiritual happiness is automatic by devotional service. So a devotee doesn't worry about material happiness and distress. They'll come automatically. Engages in devotional service. Now, going back to this point of identifying the perpetrator of a misdeed, does that mean that the perpetrator should not be punished? No. The perpetrator is simply a tool that has been supplied to offer the karma of a particular living entity. If it doesn't come from one way, just like Krishna told Arjuna, if you don't fight on this battlefield, it doesn't matter because my will automatically come. If you don't fight, then somebody else will fight on my behalf and my will be carried out. Similarly, Prabhupada said that this Krishna conscious movement has been spoken by Lord Chaitanya as will take over the whole world in due course of time. In other words, every town and village will be Krishna conscious. So then Prabhupada said to us, if you don't do it, the next generation will do it. And if that generation doesn't do it, then the next generation will do it. And like that. So there is a destiny, and that destiny is the will of the Lord. But our destiny is not to suffer. Our destiny is to enjoy. And therefore, what appears to be suffering for a devotee engaged in devotional service is illustrated by one verse in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tate nukampam shukshamikshimanam bhujaneva kritam vipakam vidvar vahubir vidadanamaste jiveti yo mukti padesha dayabhak. In order to push a devotee forward in their Krishna consciousness, the Lord allows for some suffering to fall upon that devotee in order to purify them from some material attachment, or to cause that devotee to take greater greater efforts to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. So that the Lord will allow for suffering to happen to his devotee, which appears as suffering, but it's not. It's actually the sweet mercy of the Lord coming in a very difficult way. Difficult means we can't see it as the mercy of the Lord, and we think, we say it's something we should avoid. Therefore, in this verse, it says that those who thank the Lord when the Lord provides suffering, then that is the key that opens up the door to eternal life. As Prabhupada uses the example that's given here, Mukti Padesha Dayabhak, that just like if one is born in a rich family, if they just stay in the family and become loyal to their parents, then in due course of time, when the parents depart the world, then everything that they have goes to the children. And in that way, they inherit everything. So the inheritance of the spiritual kingdom becomes automatically if one accepts the fact that whatever the Lord does is good. And just like we were seeing here, that people question when things go nice, they thank the Lord. And when things go, what we say, the other way, they have a tendency to find fault with the Lord or become bewildered. But the devotee knows happiness and distress is coming through the material energy for the materialist. Happiness and distress for devotee is coming directly by the Lord in order to elevate the devotee and to reward the devotee in devotional service. Okay. So, well, therefore, back to the main point, which is the previous verse that we read, is that one who blames another for causing their suffering is also implicated in the same amount of reaction. Yeah, go to the previous verse. Yeah. And it's, yeah, he says, you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. So people are blaming everybody else for whatever is going wrong in their life, and therefore everyone remains in illusion and can never understand. The devotee knows it's all the mercy of the Lord, and then the devotee can take shelter of the Lord and make progress in Krishna consciousness. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll open it up for discussion. You know, take a look at that thing above Prabhupada's head. It's crooked. Yeah. The right side is higher up. The left side is like this. Okay. You can fix it later today. Mhm.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you for the class, and I think I have a question which is related to. So you made a point. I think Srila Prabhupada makes a point in those verses, and you elaborated on them, which says that you should not, as such, the miseries will come in due course as time, so happiness will also come. So you don't have to endeavor that much. But then how do we draw the line? Because if we know that there are opulence and there are good things, or materially things are going to work for us or come to us, then how do you draw the line between the endeavor and over endeavor? Because sometimes we think we still have to endeavor, yes, because nothing comes without endeavor. But then where do we draw the line between atyahara and the destiny?
Well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his commentary on Srila Rupa Goswami's verses, Atyahara Prayasa, in the word prayasa, he says that there should be, in Krishna consciousness, there should be a little endeavor in order to, in other words, if you're going to do book distribution, you have to endeavor to get the books. If you're going to do Sankirtan, you might have to organize the devotees, and you need some facility to do that. But he talks about endeavor just in a small amount of ways. To endeavor for our material happiness, or to endeavor to try to ward off material distress, is what is rejected. And as far as our personal needs are concerned, aside from the spiritual activities, then it says in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should desire a healthy life, because the goal of life is self-realization. So, and of course in Sri Ishopanishads, it says that one should live according to their needs. And the principle of simplicity also is interjected as the foundation for understanding where we should apply our attention to live simply and spend least amount of time in material activities, and then spend the maximum amount of time in spiritual activities, because the goal of life is self-realization. So drawing the line requires a little bit of an understanding, both from the guidance from superior authorities and one's own honest intelligence to recognize how much I need and how much I don't need, what is actually necessary and what is actually extra. So no one can give you what we say, an exact formula. Everyone, the formulas is the principles that we live by, which are simplicity and following religious principles. So for some, it's more, and for others, it's less, according to one's situation, like that. Now, if one has a lot, then one can use what's extra. Rupa Goswami gives the formula. If you divide your assets into three categories, 50% should be given to the devotees for propagating religious principles, 25% should be for maintaining family and oneself, and 25% should be used for savings. Of course, nobody wants to follow that. They think that's too extreme. But that's Rupa Goswami's formula, and it's mentioned about 20 times throughout the Bhagavatam. Maybe at least 10 to 15 times. But the point is not to endeavor in a material way, simply to increase one's material comforts. Because that's already given to you by your birth in this world. So therefore it takes guidance along with discussion to understand how to live in such a way as I can minimize my time materially and maximize my time spiritually. If you have a job and you're good at the job, what happens is that the employer likes to give you more hours, he likes to give you more work, he likes to give you more pay. because this is the way material things work. The more successful you are materially, the more opportunities you'll have for further success. So one has to be careful of that because the entanglement will come. So how to live in this world and not be, what we say, preoccupied with worldly activities. So I'm giving you the principles which you can work with. Now you have to decide how to do that.
Thank you, Maharaj. No, I think it's clear. I think sadhana service has to be done with quality, and then I think that also needs to be, which is again is part of the principles you mentioned. So thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
And the difficulty comes from outside, the pressures that come from society, from family members, like that.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Diptesh.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. I have a question about japa, actually. And I would like to ask you, if someone asks me, why can't you be in balance without your japa or without your morning sadhana? How can I answer this question?
The question is, how can you balance japa and morning sadhana?
No. If someone asks me, why are you not in balance without your japa, without your sadhana, without your morning routine, what you do every day, every morning?
Oh, because I'm a spiritual being, that's why. I'm not a material being. And my balance comes by balancing my soul in relationship to my eternal soul, Krishna. When you when the materialists get up in the morning, they have to. You ask them why can't you not why don't you just fast and find a balance in your life? Why do you have to eat? Ask them that. Why do you have to eat? Well, I like to eat. Well, they can say so many reasons. But we need to eat spiritual nourishment. We need spiritual nourishment because we are spiritual beings. They need it too, but they don't know they need it. They think spiritual life is a choice that some people make and other people don't. But the option is, if you don't choose spiritual life, you suffer. So they're suffering. They won't admit it because if they have to admit it, then they have to change. But they don't want to change, so they don't admit the fact that they're suffering. So they speak like that because they want to put themselves in a position of superiority, which is a false sense of self. So yeah, we need our relationship with Krishna. Therefore, our chanting, our sadhana, is our connection. Just tell them not to eat. Why are you eating?
That's a good point.
Why are you washing your body? They're trying to take care of themselves materially. We are taking care of ourselves spiritually. They should be doing the same thing.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
My humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj, I've got a question. can we change our destiny?
Yeah, easy, by Krishna consciousness. Devotional service automatically changes your destiny. That's mentioned throughout Nectar of Devotion. Even as soon as you go to a kirtan and start clapping your hands and start singing, your destiny is changing. All devotional activities bring one to the destiny of moving towards devotion to Krishna. Then that becomes our destiny, or the results of devotional service becomes our destiny. And we lose our material destiny.
Okay.
We can lose it completely, not just change it. We may, just like Prabhupada gives an example, he said, maybe in your previous life, or even in this life, one has committed murder. So according to Manu Samhita, a person who commits a murder must also give their life as a form of, punishment. That's the punishment, a life for a life. So you come to devotional service, you were a murderer. So now what happens? Prabhupada said you cut your finger. So in other words, you get a reaction for that heinous crime of murder, but not the full reaction, because devotional service mitigates all material reactions.
Okay.
That's an example that Prabhupada uses to show, as soon as you come into devotional service, your destiny changes.
Okay. Guru Maharaj, just a little bit more explanation about how we lose our material destiny.
That's done by the Lord himself.
Okay.
Yeah, because as soon as you get involved in devotional service, you're coming under the spiritual energy, the Daivi Prakriti. You're no longer under the Apara Prakriti, you're under the Para Prakriti. So now your shelter is different. And because your shelter is different, you're freed from the reactions of your previous activities.
Okay.
The Lord arranges that personally.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Haribo. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you, Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Maharaj. Maharaj, I had a follow-up question on this.
Okay.
So, Maharaj, when as
When we're losing you there.
say that, you have to go through things and your prarabdha, say towards, our...
Wait a minute. Mataji,
Maharaj, can you hear me a bit?
Well, you're breaking up quite regularly. I think if you speak a little slower, you won't break up.
Yes, Maharaj, I'll speak slowly now. So, as they say that you have to go through your karmic reaction. But if you're sincere in our chanting...
No, you don't have to go through your karmic reaction. That's what it means to perform devotional service. As soon as you come to devotional service, just like everyone knows, as soon as you get initiated, the spiritual master accepts your karma. So you're no longer responsible for the reactions of your karma. At least the first initiation gives you freedom from a percentage of your karma, and the second initiation completes the karmic account.
Oh, wow, Maharaj. I didn't know that. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but your good karma also goes.
So,
if you were destined to have, just like Prabhupada was destined to become one of the richest men in India. That was in his birth chart, but because he took to Krishna consciousness, that never happened.
But Maharaj, I think good.
Huh? Okay, slow down.
Thank you, Maharaj. That is very good to know.
See, the
if we are
thing is,
sincere in our chanting and in our devotional service.
yeah, all Krishna takes care of all the reactions slowly. There's a little karmic reaction left in order to purify you from some attachments. But that's done in a loving way and not in a punishment way. So the reason why good karma also goes is because good karma can divert our attention away from Krishna consciousness. So Krishna he gives you what is called spiritually good karma.
Jai Maharaj, that's really good to know. I'll be even more sincere now.
Let's see what happens.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, please don't forget what you just said.
Maharaj, I will do my best, definitely.
I have confidence you will.
Jai. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. August to Prabhupada. August to you. Guru Maharaj, thank you for the class. You were discussing Tatya Anukampa Sushmiksha Mano. And I've also heard the lecture given by you many times in Chicago. I think 2006 lecture. So Guru Maharaj, one question that I'm not able to answer is, yes, I understand a little bit that Prabhupada says that don't go behind the instrument of your karma. But there are 6 kind of intruders mentioned in first chapter Bhagavad Gita, 36th verse, and also in first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, that if there are these 6 kinds of intruders, one has to fight back. So there's an apparent contradiction between the two principles given. One is don't fight, and another is fight these 6 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on one level, one is true. On another level, the other one is true. It's like Maharaj Ambarish, when the Rasa Muni came, and he felt offended by Maharaj Ambarish. He actually produced a fiery demon to kill Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish didn't take any action. All he did was think of Krishna. And he was accustomed to thinking of Krishna, so he deeply thought of Krishna. And Krishna did everything. Killed the demon and chased after Durvasa with his Sudarshan chakra. So that's one level. The other level is these things are basically on a more lower level, that if these things happen, one can react on that level too. So it depends on what level you want to react, and that depends on your level of practice of Krishna consciousness.
Mm.
You can accept it, or you can. In other words, from the material point of view, these 6 things are mentioned in the Manu Samhita. So the Manu Samhita gives the law books for proper activities within human society. So these are do's and don'ts in that level. So, but there for a pure devotee will not ask Krishna for anything.
Okay. So if I may clarify, because one time we had this discussion in the temple a little bit, and one devotee shared that like you gave example of Amrish Maharaj, then she gave example of Haridas Thakur beaten up in 21 marketplaces, or Prahlad Maharaj life being under execution every single day. So she brought up the point. I just want to confirm if my understanding is correct, that as long as our mind is disturbed, it's better to fight back. Why these devotees never fought back? Because their mind was, they were sthita prajna. So,
Right.
Okay.
You got it. It depends
Okay.
on what level of consciousness you're on. You have to act on that level. If you try to act on the highest level and you're not on that level, you may not have that same result.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for the clarification. Hare Krishna.
You think you have to be honest, though. That's the point.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
I'm Kishori. Hare Krishna.
Dear Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Your Holiness. Thank you for this very instructive class. There are a lot of takeaways, especially for me in this class. My question is, this philosophy is so important to remember that ultimately Krishna is arranging everything for our purification. But in our day-to-day dealings, when things happen, it's very hard not to get caught in the cycle of the blame game. It's very hard to refrain from thinking, oh, why did this happen? Why did he speak like that? Why did they behave like this? And feel very hurt and feel very depressed. So how can we try to keep this philosophy foremost so we don't go down?
Just think of Krishna. If you think of Krishna, then you won't go down. You're getting depressed because you're trying to figure it out from a material point. You think of Krishna, then the depression is gone. Or at least you're in the position to get the understanding. Happiness comes, distress comes. People will say things you don't like or do things. Sometimes, in ordinary dealings, we deal ordinarily, but we should know behind the scenes, everything is happening by the arrangement of the Lord, either directly or indirectly through the material energy, either way. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sachiracharam etunan edikonteya jagat vipar vivartante. On the 9th chapter of 10th verse, 9th chapter, 10th verse of Bhagavad Gita. This material energy is working under my directions, producing all moving and non-moving beings. By its will, is creating and destroying continually. And Krishna puts the material energy in motion and it works. Just like he creates, a watchmaker creates a watch, and then the watch works. So Krishna gives the laws for material energy. And if you act under the laws of the material energy, you're affected by it. If you act in Krishna consciousness, you're not so much affected by what happens. One man can lose all his fortune and think, oh, boy, how can I live without my money? Let me end my life. Another person will think, oh, all right, I lost all my money, but I'm still okay. I'll just go on in my life.
So it also depends on our consciousness, how much importance we give to these things.
Everything in life depends on consciousness. Everything you do, every moment, it depends on consciousness. Consciousness is the factor. Therefore, become Krishna conscious, and then everything becomes understandable, easy, natural, and it's an opportunity for moving closer to self-realization.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I'm trying. Thank you. These classes are lifeline.
Trying, yes, but we have to succeed.
By your mercy. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, I have a question. It is mentioned in the purport that it is mercy of Krishna when we are suffering. So I feel that if I am suffering, I can try to develop that mood that it is Krishna's mercy. But if someone very close to me is suffering, it is very difficult for me to keep up with that mood. And how can I give strength to myself to keep up with that mood?
When someone else suffers, you should feel like you should try to help them relieve their suffering. The devotee is kind and compassionate to others and feels for the suffering of others. But at the same time, if you think about it, they're also suffering because it's the mercy of Krishna. But that doesn't mean you should allow it to go on. It's like a patient will come to a doctor and the doctor said, well, you got sick, that's Krishna's mercy. No, he'll try to cure the person. So that's our understanding, is that when someone is suffering, we try to relieve it. Otherwise, why are we preaching? There's no sense of preaching. If everybody's suffering, we just let them suffer. No, the idea of preaching is to help them get out of their suffering.
Yes, Maharaj. So if, sorry, Maharaj.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I was just thinking, like, if I cannot see them suffering, say probably my parents, like who are very close to me, and then does it mean that I'm too much attached to them?
No, you can try to help them if they're suffering. If you can help them, yeah. But you have to understand the real suffering is lack of Krishna consciousness. So when we attend to the needs of the person's body and mind, we also understand that we try to give them Krishna consciousness along with trying to deal with their material problems. Just like I have one devotee, she's here in Slovenia and she's a social worker. So every day people are coming to her with problems. And she works with sometimes mentally disturbed people. But she's trying at the same time to interject Krishna conscious principles along with her, caring for people on the material level. And that's because she's a devotee. She understands that this is what they really need. So this, in the same way, we don't neglect the fact that a person is suffering material. If we can help them, whether it's the parents or people in general, if we can help, that's natural, that's normal, that's a principle of human life. But at the same time, the real suffering is lack of Krishna consciousness. And so try and help your parents in both ways.
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to your holiness. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Guru Maharaj, and very nice instructive points today. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah, by Prabhupada's mercy, we came across this topic today. Okay, so Brenda, you can.
Yes, Maharaj.
If there's any more questions.
Yes. So, dear devotees, are there any more questions or realizations or comments? Okay. Okay, so if no one has any questions, then with Maharaj, your permission, shall we end the call? So thank you so much, Maharaj, for enlightening us on this topic. Those are very beautiful verses and got to know many things. Thank you to your devotees for joining. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. All glories to you and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Krishna.
Panchakalpataruvesya kripasindhuvesya patitanam pavanam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Govardhan Leela.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Somadatri. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. We'll see you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.